all of us face failures or things that don't go our way or disappointments. And I'm always curious about what it is, like where you get your inspiration and your encouragement. Because I think so much of the time we all need a little encouragement now and then. I personally need it daily. Doing the news every day can be depressing. And so I turn to my faith as a way to keep myself in a positive light and to continue to reach out in kindness and in love to everyone and to try to do and make the world a better place. And so I'm just curious for all of you, maybe we'll start with Betsy this time and we'll work our way down this way. But for you personally, what encourages you, or where do you go for that source of your strength?
Yeah, so maybe I'll answer this with another short story, and I'll rewind the clock back a handful of years where it was 2009. I'm a life insurance partner at McKinsey. The economic crisis has hit. My clients are starting to go away, and I was feeling like I was living in this little box where I could only talk about a handful of things, like 50% of the value has escaped from the life insurance space. A call center employee cost X dollars, and I'm a very passionate Ohio State Buckeye. I don't know if there's any.
There they are, showing their pride.
And so something about Ohio State, and I was feeling like I was becoming this very uninteresting person that I was turning into something that I wasn't. And so I took out well, I like to say I took out a piece of paper, but it was really an Excel spreadsheet, and I wrote down. I was 37 at the time, and I wrote down the 40 things I wanted to do by the time I was 40. In like 20 minutes. I just wrote down the list. And to be, it's sort of maybe an odd answer to this question, but that single act of writing that down with such intention, and then I went on and I did 39 of the 40 things. I gave myself my 40th year, to be clear. I gave myself until I turned 40, day before I turned 41 to finish it. But was this amazing source of inspiration, and actually was the thing that gave me the courage to leave the firm and go to Northwestern, and this notion of you have to plan to live an interesting life, and so that is that kind of routine and commitment to make sure that I don't allow myself to get too sucked into my professional life, and that I maintain being the individual, well-rounded individual that I want to be, is what gives me inspiration and keeps me buoyed.
Very good. Sandee?
So, in education, there's sort of two camps. So there's didactic teaching that is, kind of somebody talks, you listen, you take notes, you take a test, and that's kind of how we were all taught. And then there's responsive, or making space for learning. And it's a very humbling way to teach, because while you may have some sense of what's going to happen, anything can happen, and what you're doing is creating space for transformation. So you have to be ready and not concerned about what the answers are, but who the people are. And so I've been training people to teach in that way for many years, and I think the inspiration comes when you see yourself as a gardener and you plant seeds, and then they sprout. And they sprout at all different times, and transformation certainly takes time. But when you hold the space for people, you are sort of roping off your garden. And I think that every day the inspiration comes to us, we just don't always see it. So it takes the ability to sit back and to be present in your garden to get your inspiration, and not just be so quick to pull your weeds out, but to really sit with it. And I think so in a classroom, it's a really easy thing to see. And in our business, if we're looking, at our balance sheet, we can count those things. But sitting with what it is that we do and our purpose and why we do it, I think those inspirational things will happen. And a 7-year-old will say, the hope needs you just when you need it.
Love it. Amanda, how about inspiration for you?
So I could say the truth, like my husband can read me. I can walk in the door and there could just be a ham with a glass of wine and he gives me inspiration. And I can say I work with 400 incredible humans that I truly want to take care of and I want to make them proud. But I'm going to try to tailor my answer for this audience about like inspiration. How do you get strength? Many years ago, I was at a Techstars meeting, and I was doing the networking, and I talked to an entrepreneur named Sharon Schneider, who some of you may know, and she said, how's it going? I'm like, oh, it's great. Like the typical tech, yeah, crushing it, great. How's it going with you? And she said, I'm going to do you a solid and tell you the truth. I'm having a hard time closing my round. I'm worried about making ends meet. Inventory isn't where it needs to be. It's a really tough quarter. And I said, oh, wait, we're going to be honest. Let me tell you what's going on. I missed the quarter by $1 million, and I had until January 18th to lock my plans in. Things are really crazy. And her ability to kind of be really, really honest and transparent allowed me to be really, really honest and transparent. And since then, I have like the no BS rule. Because I've realized the CEOs I talk to, when we go out for drinks and we put our junk on the table and we put our problems on the table, one, you get perspective that like it's always hard out there. And almost always, you end up loving your problems best. So you pack them up and take your own problems home and you go, I'll live to fight another day. And that is not a CEO thing. That is anybody networking in business, talking about your boss or how to get the promotion. Seek and tell the truth with kindness and respect, and you can get unbelievable perspective that in fact it's hard everywhere, and you get the grit to go fight another day.
Love it. Stephanie, where do you get your inspiration?
Amanda's awesome. I love that.
I know.
I'm gonna go off of something Sandee said about purpose. When I was interviewing at Allstate, Tom Wilson, Allstate CEO, asked me what my purpose was. And I said, well, you know, I read this book called Purpose Driven Life. Have you read the book? And he said, no, I haven't read the book. I said, well, I'm going to get you the book. And I gave him the book. But I told him what my purpose was. And I think, you know, I'm a single mom in Chicago. And, you know, life hasn't been, you know, people look at my resume and like, what a great life. I'm like, oh, my God, I did that and I did this. And so, you know, you have to, you know, keep perspective. And so every 2 weeks, I write my purpose down. And it's important for me to write it down as opposed to say it, because when I write it down, my brain does something different. And so my purpose is to be a child of God. I try to live my life by being kind, loving, healthy, because we don't take care of ourselves, smart, friendly, patient. I try to be a good daughter, mother, friend, and employee. I live my life trying to honor my parents' legacy, and I really do believe my purpose is to inspire. I write it down every 2 weeks. And when I get kind of blue, because I get blue, it does bring me back to what my purpose was, and I actually kind of inspire myself. I've got a weird hobby in that I'm an equestrian, and you got to ride the horse that comes out the stall. And so I have a baby horse, he's 5 years old, he just got off the plane from Czechoslovakia, and every day I get on him, I'm like, ooh. That gives me my peace of my purpose today is for him to feed off of my positive energy. And so focusing on my purpose is what keeps me grounded and inspired.
Love it. Thank you, Stephanie. Michelle?
So a little bit more simple, but I have to remind myself that I need a slower rhythm to remind myself to feel inspired and reflective. And so honestly, I get a lot of inspiration from written things, and I have to make room in my life for reading, for lyrics, for music, for those kinds of things. I can always find, it seems remarkable, no matter what's happening in my crazy life, whatever stresses are happening, there is something that will speak to me if I just remember to make the room to let it in. And so Wild Things by Alicia Cara got me through some really tough times last summer, and we just blared it in the car and sang it out loud, and there were just pieces of that song that I just think were right at the right moment. And there will be paragraphs in books that are right at the right moment, but the piece that's inspirational is to reflect and remind myself to slow down enough to let those things in, because when you just keep running on the hamster wheel, you don't have those things that can inspire you and that can feed you. And so that's the piece, is I try to remind myself of the rhythm that will allow there to be inspiration that can come in.